coming round the outside. Which one of us finna die tonight? Is we finna fight over crumbs to buy, or make a whole motherfucking world ignite? Everybody throw them bows right upside your partner's nose. By now you've got bloody clothes, crabs in the barrel, so the story goes. Think of all their savage acts, grab and scratch from average cats. Bureaucrats with strings attached, walk in place like a match. 2 by 2, promenade, duck from a B1 bomber raid. Ain't but the plans Osama made. Banks get paid off petro trade. Circulate, dozy dope. How much cash could a OZ grow till all are fed and all have beds? My skin is black, my star is red. Everybody get down low, about the level of your toes. These dance moves we usually do are not the ones that we have chose. Grab onto that beat and grind, try your best to stay alive. We can run, we can't hide, might as well just stay in fire. 2 by 2, promenade, duck from a B1 bomber raid. Ain't but the plans Osama made. Banks get paid off petro trade. Circulate, dozy dope. How much cash could a OZ grow till all are fed and all have beds? My skin is black, my star is red. Circulate, dozy dope. How much cash could a OZ grow till all are fed and all have beds? My skin is black, my star is red.
Hello and welcome to Revolution Radio. You have Tanya and Jay tonight.
¿Qué pasa?
No Cody. He don't matter.
He's busy.
So we're going to just jump right in. We have a new format. We have new servers. We have all sorts of crazy, wonderful shit going on. We also have breaking news, and it's sad breaking news. On Saturday, and this is where it gets kind of fuzzy, the Hacienda Skilled Nursing Facility in Phoenix.
I just thought your Saturday got kind of fuzzy.
Well, it gets awkward. So
Okay.
this was last Saturday. So December.
Why is this breaking news if it happened last Saturday?
Because it was just announced an hour ago.
Okay.
I know.
Oh.
So a nurse was in a room, and this patient has been comatose for 14 years. She drowned, and they brought her back, but she was basically brain dead. There is some life, so her family has kept her on in this coma. Well, the nurses have been in and out of the room all day on Saturday and noticed there was a lot of activity coming from the patient. There was moans, the eyes are opening, there's a lot more twitching and things going on. So they kept going in thinking maybe she's having seizure activity, maybe she has the flu. You never know because this patient is in a legally diagnosed coma.
Correct, yeah.
The woman had an 8-pound, 9-ounce baby boy.
What?
She was giving birth. I'm not even kidding you. This happened Saturday. It was announced today that the state of Arizona Health and Rehab Services and CPI will be investigating. The nursing home did not report anything until today.
How big was the baby?
9 pounds, 8 ounces.
So it's healthy.
It is a very healthy baby.
So all the women who were like, oh, it's so hard to carry a baby. No, apparently it's not.
Apparently it's not. Because this patient...
But how did...
Exactly. This patient is under 24-hour care because she's in a coma.
Right, I guess.
So
I was going to
yes.
say, how do I get the nutrients? But, well, duh. And
So
then,
yeah, she's hooked up. She does have feeding tubes. She has an extra breathing tube. She wears the adult diapers, so she is changed throughout the day. She's turned throughout the day. They did notice
it is a miracle.
it is a miracle. Several months ago, they noticed that her intake had been that she was taking more proteins and fluid in because she's fed through a tube. So they did up it a little, but she really has never gained weight.
So what you're saying, ultimately, is for all the expectant mothers out there, stop using that line, I'm eating for two.
Apparently,
You're just binge eating. Stop it, fatty.
you're just binge eating. I am so gonna kick you in the balls for that. Right now, CPI is trying to figure out what have they done with the baby boy this whole week.
What do
They
you
did
mean?
not.
Like,
They
who's they?
the clinic.
Like, no one's seen the kid?
No, they have the baby there at the nursing home. They did not report anything until today. 3
They're giving
nurses.
it to Betsy DeVos. They sold it to her for a good price.
Apparently, what happened was one of the skilled nurses was sent home today because she feels like this is a reportable crime. She did call the news station. She called CPI. And then as the news stations and CPI entered the building, they gave this nurse's name out. She was fired immediately for giving out private information. Do you feel like this is private information? I mean, a comatose patient
what about
had
the
a baby.
parents?
Nobody knew anything
No,
until
I mean-
today.
But shouldn't they know at least?
Nobody knew anything until today. This comatose patient gave birth last Saturday.
Holy shit.
I feel like there's a lot of issues right there because now you're talking, you have almost a week-old newborn that needs care around the clock.
I mean, it's at a good place for that.
It's at a nursing home.
And what do they do?
Apparently let their patients get raped and impregnated.
Now, see, you're putting a negative spin on that. I feel like they just give a lot of love and care to what they're doing. I mean, like, okay, so
I really want to hear this. Continue.
they're obviously good at least at giving the care.
They give stuff, yeah.
Well,
No,
They-
you're
they
correct
were-
because the child was born healthy.
exactly. That's my point. So they've done the first 9 months already of taking care of the baby. I mean, I think a week or two.
Oh my
You
god.
got people. Although I'm really surprised you didn't have people on staff like taking pictures and being like, "This is so fucking weird. We just gotta, we got Benjamin Button in last night." You know what I
Wow.
mean? Like, because they couldn't have told everybody. They told everybody who worked
No,
there, so they
they
had
did
to.
not.
They had to lie. Like, hey, we got a
Yeah.
Benjamin Button last night. It's crazy, I know, but this baby is actually 102.
So yeah, this story was broke exactly 2 hours ago. So hopefully, as the evening continues, there'll be more information. The nursing home did say that they are changing the way they do things. From now on, there has to be at least one female nurse in there at all times in the room because now they have an infant in there. Although CPI is saying they are wanting to sue for full custody.
Well, I mean, wouldn't the parents of the client get the kid? I'm thinking. I mean, it's the grandkid.
As of right now, they haven't been able to get a hold of the patient's parents.
They just let her go. Like, fuck her. It's been 14 years. Nothing new is gonna happen with this chick. Let me
Do you
tell
know
you.
what I mean? Like, okay, imagine you put
But-
your son is in a coma. It's been 14 years.
Then he gets pregnant and has a baby.
Exactly.
I've got to rethink everything that's going on.
But I mean, you would not be sitting by the phone the way you were in the beginning. You would not. You'd be out doing stuff. They could be working. We don't know.
I'm not by the phone now. People are calling me like, "Hey, your kid's in the middle of the street." Nah, fuck it, he'll be fine.
Push him down. He
Yeah.
rolls.
It's all right.
I
Throw
think
some
my
dirt on it.
biggest question would be, so Saturday's normally everybody's day off. You could have called me Saturday. There's a holiday. You could have called me during the holiday.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, but come on. I think they're being cool. They're like, look, they should have one more New Year's Eve where they can get plastered without having to deal with this thing. Let's just take one for the team.
Yeah, that's what they were thinking.
That's exactly what they were thinking. By the way, you said that their new policy
It was issued an hour ago.
that they have to, because they have an infant in there now.
No, they
Shouldn't their policy be no more raping? Like, okay, or at least half the raping. Let's just cut down the raping by half.
Is this not the weirdest story? I mean, had I been that nurse and looked over and noticed my comatose patient was being weird, and then there's blood and a baby screaming, and I pull the blanket back,
Dude, I passed the fuck out.
I'd be like, "Oh my God, call 911!" Not, "Hey, let's just wait."
You know what? Just think I'm just gonna
I mean,
take
what's
it.
the worst that could happen? Like,
It's white. Get a good
no,
deal
it's
on
not. The race has not been determined yet.
Oh. So maybe that's why the baby's still around.
We don't know.
You know, if that was a white baby, that baby would be sold.
Well, and see, this was why I was having such an issue when I was sitting in my van when you pulled up. This happened Saturday, and today is Thursday.
Today's Friday.
Oh, fuck, today's Friday.
Yeah, just 6 days ago.
So the baby was born. Yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my head around
Plus,
this.
maybe the nursing home was really just going by what Xenu wants, because that's a good Scientology start. Stay
it?
away from human contact for 2 weeks, I think, or a month. I don't know.
I think
something
it's
like
at
that.
least a year.
But I bet you that little shit will not cry that much. It's gonna learn to self-soothe. By like 3
I
months,
don't
that
know.
kid's gonna be awesome.
Well, I mean, and
You're just gonna
I
walk by
just-
and it's gonna be like, "Hey, I shit my pants."
you know, I know, because when my grandpa was still alive and we'd visit him in the nursing home, you would hear infants crying, but they would leave. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Like, there would be visiting hours where people would bring their kids up to visit the
All
grandparents.
I just have this image of like Boss Baby. Like when you say they'll leave, they put on like a little suit and a hat,
Clock it out today.
have a little briefcase. Hey, anyway, it's an interesting story. I will say that. We do have another story I want to talk about, but first we have to take a break.
Be back in 60 seconds.
Really good. We've got to bounce back and forth on this thing. Fuck, I don't know. Oh yeah, we're gonna. Dude, seriously. Like, we're performing right, and then the commercials are running really hot. But it's not running through this, is it? No.
It's not how he has it set up.
I don't fucking know. All right, and we are back.
That was one quick ass commercial.
That was. You know, I just got to thinking about something.
What?
That's going to be really, really weird on the recording.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, it happens. So talk to me. You smell like buttered popcorn.
Sorry. No, I'm like, now I'm like really taken off, and I shouldn't be, because it's breaking a fourth wall that I shouldn't. But I'm really worried about something else
I know.
attributed to the show, which is gonna, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you know how I've said, and I've talked about this before, as far as the Russia Gate thing.
The Russia Gate. Yeah.
And
Pooty. I love Putin.
well, but I've said nonstop. I've said, look, you guys really need to be careful about buying into this.
Yeah.
And I said, and the main reason why is because I think it is, in a lot of ways, a very corporate Democrat, Hillary Clinton sponsored thing. Not completely, but blowing it up out of proportion like they have.
Yeah.
Has Russia tried to to mess with our elections? Fuck yeah, they have. Has China? Yeah. Do you know what? Probably Guatemala has tried to do something. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's
You
just
see
what
little
we
Pedro with two rabbit ears. Did I do it
do.
yet?
Right. Like, every country does that to every country. I'm not going to sit there and, have this.
You're not wrong.
But another aspect of that has been not only the Russia gate, where we have to be careful. And the reason why I say we have to be careful, and I'm usually good at predicting things, correct?
You are pretty creepy about it.
You watch, there will be an attack against Bernie Sanders in Russia.
Ooh.
And they're going to say he had something to do with it.
Yeah.
He was behind it in some manner, somebody that he worked for in some way. Leading up to 2020, they're going to blame one of Bernie Sanders' team members or something along those lines, because they don't want to admit, number one, that Bernie actually won the primary.
Exactly.
Let's not forget that. I mean, he actually
He
won. It
completely
should not
won
have
it.
been Clinton. But so the New York Times did this piece yesterday, and it was about the unequal pay and sexual harassment in the
Yes.
Bernie Sanders campaign.
Which I get.
No, you don't.
Okay.
You do not get. Because, okay, here's the thing. Like, that's what a rational person sees and probably reads through some of it, and they're like, yeah, okay, that shouldn't have happened. But it's not true, is the thing. And let me explain to you why. Like, why it's not true. Number one, what they don't say at the beginning at all. Even it's until the end they bring up the fact that Bernie said he had no idea about it.
No, you are correct. He did not know. He did not sexually harass anybody.
No, had nothing to do with Bernie.
Yeah. So no, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I get, okay, you're right. This sexual harassment probably should be brought to light. You're right.
No, I actually disagree with that too, to be honest.
Oh man, why do you disagree?
Do you know the details of the sexual harassment?
No, because I was not reading it from the New York Times.
So here was the details on the sexual harassment. A female associate who had very long, pretty hair was working with a male, and the male asked, "You have such luxurious hair. Can I feel your hair?"
That's
and
weird.
she said yes. And then she later said that was sexual harassment. I'm sorry, but that's not. It's just not. And here's the reason why. Because they go in to say that in the Me Too movement, Bernie Sanders really needs to be careful. Because 2020 is not going to be obtainable if these kind of accusations...
Did he masturbate into her hair?
If these accusations keep going. Now, you're comparing Bernie Sanders right now to Bill Cosby, to Harvey Weinstein.
Exactly.
No, fuck you. Like, that's not... You know, and that's the thing. Like, the corporate Democrats are going to continue to attack any side that it disagrees with that corporate mentality. And...
What dicks.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. That was it. That was the sexual harassment, which I don't think that's sexual harassment.
I mean, he didn't masturbate in it. He didn't hump her hair. He didn't.
No.
At least he asked. I mean, how many times
we're
do you see me pet people?
We're back to the whole Louis C.K. thing, where it's like, he did ask. And at least in this situation, there was nothing sexual. Is it a little odd? Yeah. I'll grant that. It's a little weird.
It is.
But I mean,
if we're being honest, because you know how long my hair used to be. I was asked before if people could touch my hair. You know, is it really this curly? It is. You know, most people's vaginas don't grow hair that long. Mine was.
Yours was massive.
You're not wrong. If you ask and I say yeah, okay, and I give you consent,
what's the big deal?
I don't get it.
So, but that's not all of the story. So it also talks about how there was unequal pay in the campaign. And okay, so one thing a lot of people don't know is most politicians, in fact, 99.9% don't pay their interns.
Exactly.
Bernie Sanders was the only one that did. And the way he did it was, hey, you tell me how much you want, and then we'll negotiate and work from there.
And I don't feel like that's wrong.
No, I don't think so either. It's actually interesting because I looked into like kind of a side note on this. There was quite a few people who worked for him, and they said, "Look, I only need like $1,000 a month to get by."
There you go.
And he, and you know, not Bernie obviously, but the campaign manager was like, "Well, we can allow up to this." No, just go ahead and send that to help the campaign.
There you go.
Hire more people. I don't need that. You know what I mean? So like, they could have went up. In there's a lot of different numbers flying out that are like, they're pretty
yeah,
insane.
when they talk
So-
about that, it irritates me because nobody else pays their interns.
No one pays them to begin with. But so here was the situation: a staff member, female staff member, she made, and there was 100% transparency between
How
whatever.
dare they?
I know, right? How can they let other people see what other people make? And she was a female who had been there about a year, and she was making $2,500 a month. She noticed that a male staff member who was actually under her, he made $5,000 a month, and so she brought that up to the manager's attention and said, "Hey, you know, this is kind of fucked up." And here's what they did. They didn't say, "Oh, well, he has better qualifications. He blah, 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 blah." No, they said, "Okay, now you make the same."
Okay.
That's it. That was it. That was the bombshell. Like, oh my God, the Sanders campaign. Look what they're doing. They're being correct.
Can I?
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what did they do that was so bad? That was actually what they should do.
I don't understand what the issue is. Do you know what I mean?
There is none. That's
like,
the thing.
I expect that between us, our paycheck should be bigger than other people's. We have schooling. We've done this longer.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, let's say, yeah, like here,
Yeah.
I mean, I should get the biggest piece of the pie.
You can suck my cock.
You should get, like, the fourth. I think we have a couple other people who are males who deserve more money than you.
Because they got real penises.
No, but seriously, though, yeah, I mean, and if everyone's equal, then fine, everyone gets an equal amount of money. Like,
Yeah,
she showed, hey, there was a problem, and they said, okay, we'll fix it. Okay, done.
That is completely
And
ridiculous.
and the reporter asked her about it, and she was like, yeah, that was really the only problem. It was fixed really easily, and everything was fantastic.
Nice.
But that's a scathing report from New York Times. Now, this is the same New York Times, by the way, that said Gavin McInnes was just a trendy hipster. Yeah, the guy who started the Proud Boys, who advocated violence. Yeah, that guy's just a trendy
Just
hipster.
a
But
trendy
Bernie
hipster.
Sanders is goddamn Harvey Weinstein. Eat a dick. Like, and you know this all comes from the corporate Democrats. This is all
know.
Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris. All I hate to put Kamala Harris' name in that group, but it's the reality of it. I mean, Kamala
Yeah,
Harris has
you're
her own
right.
shit to deal with, and they want that though. They don't want to understand the progressives. We're on this board. We're like, okay, we want Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, Richard Ojeda, Tulsi Gabbard. You know, we
And
want
it
somebody
was.
who
It
we
has
stand
been
for.
put today, especially with the breaking video of your girl AOC dancing. And that is the biggest thing is people are complaining that the Democrats are doing this and Democrats are doing that. And then you have people getting on there. AOC is not a Democrat.
No,
She's a progressive. Do not put us in the same boats as the Democrats.
and understand, and I hope the Democrats understand this. We will burn this party down.
Exactly.
Like we don't have a problem waiting another 6 years to get what we want. In fact, what we want would be at a perfect age in 6 years, because she will be 35
Exactly.
years old and can do the job. I'm fine. Like, and I've said it, and I know that I belong to a lot of progressive groups, and they all say the same thing. If it's Clinton, Biden, or Harris, or Booker against Trump, we're all voting Trump.
Exactly.
Fuck them. Let them know that they don't have an idea what their actual party is anymore. And
It's crazy.
on that same note, though, I think the Republican Party is the same way. They don't know their base.
They don't.
They have no idea. They have this centralist idea. The thing is 70%, 75% of the people of America don't like big banks. We don't like Wall Street. fuck them. We don't want them to be rich.
How
we
dare
don't
you
want
spread the
these
truth?
major corporations to have all the power. We don't want that. So
No.
either you put a politician in that we'll vote for, or we will burn your party down and we'll just watch it crumble. That's fine. We've already been in a hell for a while. You get comfortable in hell. You know what I'm saying?
If
Like,
it wasn't for Trump, we wouldn't have the job we do right now. So,
that's another one.
I mean, I'm not even going to lie. He gives us so much to work with. And if we're being honest, I really haven't talked about him or done any stories on him the last couple of weeks. It's you guys.
Yeah. I mean, and there's not even been that. There's a lot to talk about. He's done this, he's done that. But I mean,
Yeah.
I have more hatred for the Democrats at the moment than
I'm
I do
telling you.
Trump. I mean, because Trump is an enemy, so to speak, to
Exactly.
your ideology.
But the people that you put in office or that you voted for, seriously, you can do better.
Exactly.
We can all do better. What the hell?
And we have to keep that energy up. That anti-Trump energy has got to turn into anti-Nancy Pelosi energy, anti-Chuck Schumer Pelosi, or any sort of corporate, hey, fuck the middle class, fuck the lower class.
Mhm.
Let's give more money to the rich. Yeah, we need to be against them. United, all of us. I don't even care if
Exactly.
you're alt-right, to be honest.
I am completely disappointed in the New York Times for that.
I am, but I'm not. Like,
I am.
I'm not surprised. I will say that. They've been a shill for that side for God knows how long.
I am completely done with that side. In fact, so done. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll be back
in
60
1 minute.
seconds.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you? Nobody believes me.
I know.
And okay. We're back
Welcome
again.
back. That was a quick minute.
It happens fast.
Wow. So yesterday on Fox News, a story caught my attention. And it has to be a big one because, I
Love Fox.
thought I had it all blocked. But in my defense, it popped up on my news feed from Google. So Google knows what I love. And the news feed said, help support Trump's wall. And I was like, okay, let me just jump right on that. And it explained that the number one reason why we needed this wall is because it'll help stop the trafficking of children in Atlanta. Yesterday, 72 school buses filled with 3,600 people lined up along the highways of Atlanta in protest of all the child trafficking. I know a lot of people have heard of Hotlanta, go to Atlanta for fun. Apparently, Georgia has become the #1 state for child trafficking. And Fox News has decided that because of this, we should build the wall to keep the child traffickers out. Which is interesting because when you switch over to Rewire, CNN, or any other normal news station, their headline was 72 buses line up to help spread the word of child trafficking in the United States. Quite a bit different there.
A little bit.
So for those of you who helped send me this news story and wanted to talk about it, it is correct. If you fill 72 buses, that's approximately 3,600 children that have been trafficked from Atlanta. Let's talk about where Atlanta is located. It is close to Florida, which Florida is surrounded by fucking water. There's a line of water below Georgia. So even if we were to build your wonderful wall, what the fuck are we building a wall for there? I'm really confused by this.
I don't know. I have no idea.
There's no wall there now. There hasn't been a wall there. There's no wall in Florida. I mean, do you want to start separating the states by walls?
Yes. A cubicle
Like a
country.
fucking cubicle
That's what
our
we need.
country? And
Actually, fuck that, because we live in Kansas, and yeah, I don't want to stay in that cubicle.
so when I looked into the story, and it is true, and I do think it's sad that that many children are being trafficked from Atlanta. They are being trafficked through the airports headed out of New York, Canada, you know, the northern border that nobody understands exists. Because every time somebody says we need a wall on the southern border, and I say, oh, okay, that's cool. What about the northern border? Everybody says, well, the northern border is not the problem. 3,600 United States children were trafficked out of the northern borders. Where is the problem?
I don't know if there is. I mean,
There's nothing there. Fuck me.
wow, it's
I know.
fantastic. No, I mean, there is no real problem there.
I know. So yeah, I really question everything right now. Everything. Just
Yeah,
do
no.
you want to just go get high? Like, let's just light a fucking joint and go get high.
I feel like, okay, so I almost like I have to break down the fourth wall. There's so much going on behind the scenes right now, and there's so many weird breaks we have to take that it's really interrupting like the flow of what's going on. There's so much that we're doing on certain ends. Apparently, we have not been connected to Live 365 this entire time. I looked over at the altcast that should have been up, and it was just rotate. You know, like when you're trying to connect online, and it just does that thing where it spins.
The
So it's-
hamster's dead.
Yeah, it's just been doing that. Running up certain amount of commercials, we're kind of cutting into stuff.
A little lot. Just a lot.
It's a shit of a show today, is what
Oh
I'm
my
saying.
God.
Like, and then knowing that, like, a good majority of it isn't going to go across. Just thinking out loud right now, I don't know if our podcast people, the people who listen to us on YouTube, they might be getting. Yeah, I mean, look what time it is now, though. But
Yeah.
we might, because I just stopped it and then I hit it again. But anyway, our YouTube listeners and the people who listen to us on Annex or 24.7, any of them, they actually might be getting the minute where we're at commercial. I just thought about that because we're still connected into this. So what we're talking about when we're at commercial, they might actually be
Yeah,
getting
they'll
that.
understand it. They'll
Yeah.
understand.
Because they're going to hear us talking back and forth, which, by the way, we didn't say a lot of it.
Oh my fucking god.
Which, by the way, it would just be awful to listen to, honestly, because it would be, how long do we got?
That's
Oh,
all it
shit, that was a really bad stop. Yeah, I know, fuck.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have to bear with us, I guess, until we get, we're supposed to have 120-minute long, or 120-second long commercials that we would play at the beginning and then at the end, and
Yeah.
that would really help things. But those
that's
were
a
not.
no.
They were not prepared today, so we have to keep taking these breaks. And then we found out, like, while I'm prepping all that, looking for the other commercials, I found out that the altcast was just spinning like a hamster, just a dead hamster in a wheel. Just
Oh my god.
so yeah, if you're coming away from this, you're like, God, this show sucks. You'd be right today.
You're
would be
not
100%.
wrong.
There's like no passion into any of the stories because we're back and forth on everything.
I'm trying to, yeah. For those of you who did ask, the story of the 70, yeah, because I just got a thing. You can find it on Fox News or CNN, or the local news station that was reporting it is WYFF News in Atlanta. And basically, it's
Which one? To be honest, I wasn't even
Exactly.
listening. So what happened?
So they did a protest where they lined up 72 school buses.
Oh, we got to go to break.
You fucking dick. So yeah,
So they lined up. Why did they line up the school buses?
because from Atlanta alone, 3,600 children have been sent out. Like they're being
Sent back to like
no, they're being
Central America.
No.
Oh, I don't even know what you're talking
Jesus
about.
Christ.
Where'd they go? Where do these 30-some hundred children go?
They're becoming prostitutes.
What?
Yes.
Oh, shit. Children?
You had no idea what the hell I've been talking about for 10 minutes.
No, that's what I was
I've been
just
timing
saying.
myself too.
That's
oh my
what I've just
God.
been saying. I have been too preoccupied by what's going on this end. I didn't hear any of that.
Jesus Christ. So yeah, that is a story. And it's more along the lines of this is why we need to protect more of the northern borders and have better things going on up there. Do you have another story, or should I just continue and you just sit over there like a dead hamster and
I
spin?
cut you off here pretty soon. No, I mean, God. I do, but we don't have the time.
It's time for another commercial.
It really is close. Well, we gotta get two in.
Just do a fucking commercial now.
All right.
Thanks for listening to Revolution Radio.
You're not even connected. I mean, I think, are we connected on this other end? Like, is it picking? Yes, it is. So, you guys actually get a behind-the-scene kind of experience that the other listeners don't get.
What the fuck is
And
that?
that is, we are incredibly frustrated today. So if you're listening to the podcast
So sorry.
or the on YouTube, like, this is probably the funniest episode for you because you've been hearing all the shit we've been saying,
Jesus,
which
this
we
is
really got to do some
bullshit.
editing because there might be some really bad things we've said about not only Live 365 but about other people involved.
Jesus
It's
Christ.
just so broken up, which, by the way, this is why I didn't want to do it this way. And everyone said, it'll be fine. Tanya told me that.
Okay,
Cody
but
told me that. And we're about
in
to
my
go back live.
fucking bullshit.
But I feel like, here's the thing. You got to you got to adapt, right?
I am trying to be adaptable, yes.
And now I got it. We actually have a selling point for people to listen to the podcast because we're talking during the commercials.
You want to know the truth
And
of
then
what's
the people,
going on?
and then the people who are listening live, they have no idea what we were talking about for the last minute. But don't
Jesus.
worry, we switch topics for that minute. We let people
Yeah.
know what's going on. There's
It's
some
not
behind
like
the
you
scenes kind of shit.
completely-
Yeah, no, we're not going to leave our live listeners high and dry. But anyway, so what did you have, or did you want me to go on with my
I think we should talk about Molly
hatchet?
Tibbetts. Really? Not Molly Hatchet.
Thank God. I hate Molly Hatchet. Yeah,
So-
she was the girl who was killed, murdered, whatever, right?
By an immigrant.
By an immigrant up in Northern America somewhere.
In Northern
I don't-
America.
The northern part of America, I should say.
I really love how you start stories. And because, I mean, I know you know the story, or at least some of it, and you just take off with it. I love you.
Well, I was just trying to
know.
brief everyone else because they may not have known.
No, that's cool.
Well, go ahead. I mean,
So,
it has to be new. You can't be like, so this chick was murdered. Yeah, we know.
a couple of weeks ago. No, just a week
like,
ago.
Molly Tibbetts?
She was missing for a month and a half.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Yes.
that chick's been dead for a long time. Right?
It took them a month and a half to find her body. Yes.
Yeah, but I thought it was like this summer.
No.
Really?
Yes. Jeez, where have you been?
I would definitely be dating that article. Anyway, go ahead.
This article is from December 29th. Thank you.
Really?
Anyway,
Go
this
on,
is just
go on.
not the day at all.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
So Molly Tibbetts, as Jay was explaining, was murdered at least a month and a half ago by an immigrant man. Molly had been staying at her boyfriend's house, and her boyfriend was out of town, so she was staying there taking care of his pets. And apparently she took his dog for a walk, and this immigrant man who was 21, he wasn't very old, but
No,
he
was
was an
still
adult.
pretty young. Yeah.
He propositioned her, was whistling at her, and he has admitted to doing this. And when she turned him down and walked away, He bashed her in the back of the head, raped her, and killed her. And then he half buried her body in the woods. And that's why it took so long. But this is why we should talk about...
Can I just do an update real quick on our debate?
Yes.
Her body was found August 22nd.
Okay.
So I was right.
Are you done?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the reason why we are talking about Molly Tibbetts is the last few months, our wonderful, loving president that Jay humps at night...
I love him.
Has been talking about, this is why we need the wall, is to keep these immigrants
It
out.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what the last story was about. You know, these children are getting trafficked for sex, but if we build a wall on the southern tips of Florida and fucking Georgia, it would stop.
Oh, is that what that was about?
Yes. You're still not listening.
No, I was referenced to not knowing the last story.
So President Trump's biggest thing the last few weeks has been, have you heard about the murder of Molly Tibbetts? Molly Tibbetts was murdered, and President Trump is really pushing this because, sadly, the person who murdered her was an immigrant. What President Trump and Fox News and a lot of the news stations, and this is what irritates me the most, what they are not talking about is Molly Tibbetts' mom, her name is Laura Calderwood. She is the one who lost a child. She also has taken in an immigrant boy named Felix Ulysses. Felix's parents were here, what they thought, legally. And as we know, ICE has been going around and just sending people out if they don't feel like you belong here. Well, his parents have not renewed their green cards because you can't. So they were deported last April. And Felix has been living with the Tibbetts family since then. They are spending money on him. They are taking care of him.
The mom sent an email to the original parents and was like, now you know what it's like to lose a kid, you assholes. I'm keeping this one, motherfucker.
So what Laura Calderwood and Molly's parents are divorced. What is bringing them back together is stop talking about immigrants killing children.
Right, yeah, the family's been on that. They've been on that.
Since the beginning.
Yeah.
They don't want you to say Molly Tibbetts was killed by an immigrant. Molly was murdered by a person who was obsessed with her. They have asked President Trump repeatedly. So the news story that is coming out is that they are looking into Felix's history. Is he really legal here? From President Trump. They're wanting to make sure this kid is here legally because his family has murdered Molly. Is that not the most fucked up thing you can think of?
You mean, so Felix?
This 17-year-old boy who has been staying with this family and living with this family, who has suffered...
Trump wants to take him away from Molly's
because his parents are an immigrant. This child is not an immigrant.
Wow.
Yeah. And not only are they dealing with this, apparently somebody spray painted on Laura Calderwood's garage, burn all immigrants. The woman whose daughter was murdered had her garage defaced.
Yeah, you don't hear about that in...
No, but what you hear about is her poor daughter was murdered by immigrants.
Right. Yeah, you rarely ever hear the other side of that stuff. And I mean, it's amazing because you have...
It's a sad deal. I get it.
Well, and you have people who are going to argue, see, this is what happens. And yet we don't acknowledge all of just the white on white crime that's that manner. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it did. And you know why an immigrant killed a white woman? Because if we're going to call him a man, she's a woman.
You're not wrong.
Well, and that's the other thing, though. They say immigrant man kills child. And it's like, no, she was, or
No.
girl. No, she was a woman. But, yeah, that happened because they're humans. We're humans. We're scumbags. Humans are douches.
They are.
Like, mentally troubled. We kill each other. We hurt each other. It's actually far more rare, though, to see Mexican kill whitey or blackie, and black person to kill whitey or brownie. It's not that. That's actually not common. We actually usually just kill our own race all the time. So yeah, no, you're not going to see a lot of immigrant kills whitey. Just not going to happen.
Well, and this was from the Washington Post. Laura Calderwood has said, leave Felix alone. Apparently, this kid is even getting harassed at school.
Oh, really? Shocking.
Exactly.
Shocking.
So let's just be honest. If you guys all want this wall, okay, fine. Let's build a wall. I'm not even going to stop you. I might even donate. Like, I want my own brick that says Tanya was here. What are you going to do about this fucking northern border where they are sending kids out on airplanes without legal visas?
You know what? I'm highly against you in this regard because I don't want to see this massive amount of fuckery with money. I mean, we're talking. He wants $5 billion right now, correct? For the wall.
I thought it was up to like six or seven.
That's what's stopping our government from working right now. Is that $5 billion? Did
you know if
but
you
hold on. And even he acknowledged that it's actually going to be $25 billion to build the wall.
Woohoo!
Then we looked into maintenance, right?
Yeah, because you got to keep that shit clean.
Which easily comes over $102 billion a year
right, because heat
annually.
expands in the cold.
Right, and you're gonna need. I mean, are we gonna want our giant big wall that people are gonna take pictures of? Are we gonna want one side of it to say "America sucks dick"? Because you know the Mexican side will do that. I don't blame them. I would do it on the American side. And by the way, we're probably gonna have to hire people to be stationed at that wall. Yeah, we're talking easily over $150 billion
Why can't
annually.
we just hire like 200,000 people, pay them $100,000 a year, and just let them stand shoulder to shoulder?
Just fuck it.
You know, just fucking stand there. And apparently they need to stand on the beaches in Florida, Georgia, Arkansas, Louisiana, because apparently the ocean is not enough of a fucking border.
It's not, no. We need more border.
I did
God's
like your
border
cubicle idea, though.
But I mean, what? That's why I'm highly against the wall. It's just because the money. It's stupid.
But it's the southern border. I bet the northern border is only going to take like $50.
If we actually did a northern border, we would have to get the White Walkers to use their magic and create
we're going to
one
have Canada pay for it.
because we couldn't fucking afford it.
I want them Canadians to pay for it like the Mexicans are paying for the southern border.
Yeah.
Come on, Canada, step it up.
That's like Donald Trump paying his taxes.
But could you
It'll
not
happen
picture
just one of these days.
Justin Trudeau being like, you know what? Let's build a fucking wall because I don't want you guys in here either.
Yeah, but let's be honest. None of us want that because Mexico or Canada is like, that girl that you like when you're in school. You got your girlfriend, but then there's that one girl that kind of has like that lazy eye. But, like, she's all right looking, but you still talk to her. Like, you still give her attention because you just don't know how long you're going to be able to stay with you.
She's probably listening and knowing you're talking about her.
But you can't talk to your main... What if your main girl drops out on you? What if she changes? You got to keep...
You want one-eyed Betty over
yeah,
there?
you want to keep the chick with the wondering eye. Because, might happen. That's how we see Canada. Like, we're like, look, we don't want to... We don't want to cut off things with Canada because who knows how long it'll be stable here in America. Yeah. So anyway, we have to take another commercial break. To all of our live listeners, we will be back.
Maybe.
Jesus.
So what commercial is playing?
Oh, God, no one knows.
Lowe's?
It probably is. So yeah, I mean, I wish if we did this in the middle, and I'm talking free thought for all the people who are also listening. If we did the 2-minute, we could do a quick summary of the stories, or even just talk about other shit in that 2 minutes. This minute, we're not going to be able to really get too much into. But aside from,
just make sure
holy
when you
shit,
save
this is
this
bullshit.
show, it doesn't say December 20-something 2016.
I will try to do my best at that. You know what else too? We might also put the time, so that some of our streamers aren't having problems with 12 minutes of dead air. Might fix that as well. I don't know. Crazy thought.
I guess, if you're going to be that person.
Right.
So what are you going to do when I leave early?
I don't know.
Do you want to leave early too? Shit, you have Shang. Feng Shui, Myanmar.
I am actually excited that we have Shang, the comedian. He's at the Looney Bin. I want to do what I can to actually go see him.
How are you gonna do this when I leave?
I don't know. We're on air, so we're live right now.
Oh my god!
I don't have time to be able to tell you.
You
It
need
happens
a
too
light.
quickly. It happens far too quickly.
You need a light.
You know, it's going to be another issue.
What?
Well, I mean, we really should take like an actual break before he comes. Well, you don't. You're leaving early, aren't you?
I am. I was gonna leave in like 10 minutes.
You're leaving at 6.
Yes.
Why would you leave at 6?
Because sitting here watching you run this button and push that button and bang your head against the wall back there and just
Are you saying
scream,
it's uncomfortable?
I just feel like you could do more. You're not
No,
even you're not
I'm
even
not-
applying yourself.
Yeah. I mean,
Why
what's
aren't you even
funny? What's
trying?
funny? I think like if you were to express your like the uncomfortableness because you know how serious I take this, and I wasn't in the best mood anyway coming into this
No,
show.
I told you you weren't. You were kind of grumpy and like
I was
a
already
dick.
pissed off about some stuff, and now with this, yeah, and you know, all weekend I'm going to be
I know. It's,
stuck in my
nothing
head.
will make
over
you
how-
happy
no,
all weekend. Nothing.
nothing at all.
Like you're gonna be such a bitch to hang out
I
with.
am. I really am.
I can't wait for Saturday night.
Yeah. What do you mean Saturday night?
Let's go see Shang.
Seahawks play. It's playoffs.
I
I'm
don't
thinking
have-
going tonight.
Have I ever told you this? And I don't want to hurt your
Oh, and by the way,
feelings.
Seahawks are probably going to lose. So this
But-
weekend, I am going to be just in a shit.
Fuck the Seahawks.
I'm going to be in a shit mood. Oh, fuck you and your faux Chiefs fan bullshit.
I
Oh,
love
I'm
it.
only a fan of the Chiefs because they got Patrick Mahomes and he's good. Yeah, motherfucker, I said that like a year ago.
I still don't know who that is, but I just like fucking with you.
No, I'm going to be in a fucking awful mood this weekend. I feel bad for my wife. Like, I haven't beat her in a while, but
So somebody
it's
just
gonna be
sent me
happening
a
tonight.
message.
yeah.
Is it illegal to have sex with a person in a coma?
I mean, technically, they didn't say no.
They didn't say yes either.
Right.
It's not like they can say stop because they
Look,
can't.
will you stop with the half glass empty look on things? I'm trying to be positive about this. Having a sex with a,
I mean, it's
an
not like
unconscious
when you were fucking corpses. This one's warm.
but I mean, if you were unconscious, wouldn't you want a little? I'm just saying, if you've been laying there for 14 years,
You probably got some aggression pent up.
I bet you would want a little bit of, yeah. Can you imagine the puddle?
Oh my
14 years of nothing.
Oh my fucking god! You did not just say that.
I
You
did.
You did.
No, of course it's fucking illegal. I mean, did someone really ask that?
Yes. Like, is that the worst thing you could do? Is it illegal? No, it's not the worst thing you could do.
I really love our listeners. I like that they're on the same
I mean,
wavelength as someone who's like, I don't know, John Wayne Gacy. Yeah, it shouldn't really be a big a deal. I mean,
can you claim parental rights? I guess if your coma patient has a baby, you could claim parental rights. The fact that you're asking makes me really question.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a weird one. Yeah, like, well, it's just like, I work at this. I'm a cook at
I'm a
this
cook.
at this old age home, and like,
Wow.
there's a really hot 72-year-old who hasn't been really conscious since she was 54. And, I just thought, like, look, if other people are doing it, if this society now allows us to bang the unconscious, why should I miss out on my opportunity?
That. Can you
I
guys
love-
just
I love
stop
our
with the
listeners.
questions? Because now it's getting awkward.
Just keep going.
Like-
You're not going to expect us to entertain you at this point.
Oh my god. What the hell is wrong with you people? I really don't understand. Like, that's the best story ever. They're all excited they could fuck coma
Yeah, like,
patients.
hey, it's cool now. All right.
I've been cool for 20 years.
Everybody, let's go.
Wow.
I mean, again, as me, if I was if I was in a coma, I would actually appreciate the attention.
Oh my God.
I'm saying me, okay? I'm talking about me here.
I know.
'Cause
You're a little different.
Not being in a coma hasn't worked for me very well, so maybe being in a coma will do, well by the numbers. I don't know.
I mean, would you be happy with your person just laying there?
Well,
Well.
that's called marriage. Yay. I know.
Oh, your wife is going to beat your ass later.
She really would, because I have a torn rotator cuff, and so for the last, 3 months, I don't do very much because I can't. Like, I can't be on top. I can't. It hurts way too much to put that much weight on my shoulder.
So she's used to things just laying there, not moving.
Just flaccidly falling down. That's what she's used to. It's like putting oatmeal at my bed.
Wow. So we need to talk about an article that you shared.
Should we?
We should.
Because we have to have another interruption coming up soon.
Yeah, well...
Go ahead.
We'll see how quickly we get through this one. The other day, our loving Jay here in all his glory posted an article about pedophiles and sex offenders to be chemically castrated.
Yeah, good stuff. Should happen.
Do you really feel that way?
I do because a lot of these pedophiles will sit there and say, like, they know it's wrong. There's a whole old Louis bit about, like, it has to be so good for them, knowing the amount of punishment they're going to receive. Not just judicially, but, like, socially as well. Like, it's a horrible mark on you, right?
Yeah.
So they know it's wrong. They know they shouldn't. But I'm guessing it's probably like when you get Will around oxys and alcohol. Like, just can't stop myself. So I think you gotta, for a number of these people and for a lot of them, it'd just be better to use that as a therapy. Like, what else are you going to do?
No, I mean...
And let's be honest, I have very little to no sympathy for
Okay,
child
we are not
rapers.
going back to fucking coma patients. Quit texting me, people. Somebody just asked if we could go back to the coma patients.
What is to describe it?
Oh my fucking God.
And not much movement. There you go. There's the details.
Jesus, what is wrong with our listeners? So when I worked at a certain facility, we did chemically castrate some people.
What?
Yeah.
Didn't you work at a school?
Hey.
This is why I don't trust my kid in public school.
Public school systems. We can do a lot. But my biggest issue with it is it does work for a couple of years. But like most medications, you do have to adjust them. And one of the biggest things is that when you're not adjusting it, have you ever been so horny that the one-eyed chick looks amazing? Even like the completely blind, like the comatose patients. I mean,
are you serious?
Yeah, like
have I been a 13-year-old boy? Yes, I have.
Well, and that.
I mean, there's. It's not even really a joke about guys fucking their bed, like teenage kids.
Right.
Yeah, like.
And that's
you throw a
thing.
comatose body on that? Holy shit. It's Christmas.
I saw what you did to the dog. But that's what I'm saying is that if you're not, these have to be heavily regulated meds. And they have to be regulated because like most medications, you build up an endurance. And I'm talking with the one patient we had, it was overnight. Like on Monday, he was fine. Therapy's good. Everything's good. And on Wednesday, he's fucking holes in the walls, and no one was safe.
And the only thing, Cody again.
I mean, and it was sad, and that's how bad these urges came back. And he's like, I know it's wrong. I need it. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess here's my thing. Like, I don't feel like that's a good argument as to why not to do it. I mean, that's like being like, dude, so one of my friends got cancer, and we gave them the treatment. Dude, 2 months later, they had to change the treatment.
Exactly,
well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of
regulating these meds. We're talking about some of these people in your article, when they are released, what if they decide not to go get regulated? I mean...
Well, then we physically castrate them. Then they don't have an option anymore.
Okay, but
Like, and I don't want to
but
be
can
like,
you
oh,
get rid of the urges though?
if you don't have a dick or balls, you don't produce testosterone anymore.
Testosterone.
Testosterone. Speaking like an Englishman. Yeah, you don't produce it anymore, so now you don't have those urges.
Are you sure?
I think. I don't know. Like,
Because I'm talking from experience that some of these guys, they were medically nothing would happen. Like you could suck that thing for hours, nothing would quiver, and they were still having urges.
yeah, but did they do anything with it?
No, so they became violent and would rape with objects.
I mean,
And
maybe,
that's where
maybe
yeah.
it was just you. They weren't attracted to. Like, maybe you shouldn't have been playing with their junk, seeing what happens. Like, it sounds like
Just
you
tell
have
me
a.
when you feel it.
I'm just trying. I'm doing my community job as you're jacking a guy off. No, I mean, look. From what I understand, I don't know. I saw this documentary. It was
Where's my lid?
somewhat
Lost the lid.
satisfying about this child molester, and he was talking about how he lost
Good.
the urge, and he was like, "Yeah, it was really, really weird because I was like, really, I had a big problems." And he's like, "Then I just noticed over a week period, it became less and less." And he's like, "Then in a month period, he's like, I didn't have these urges anymore." And he was like, "I
And
was
I
so
think that's
happy.
great.
I was so happy. I was elated. I didn't have these urges." Well, then he noticed that there was a tumor growing on the side of his neck. And he had cancer. And I mean, it was bad cancer, like stage 4. He died cancer. But it was
So what you're saying is we need to give pedophiles stage 4 cancer.
No, but my point was though, is they said, look, he lost these urges because it was affecting his testosterone.
I think that's great.
So I don't know. In your situation, it might be
I mean,
a
and
little
I
bit
think
different. I don't
that's
think
the
it was a
biggest issue,
sexual thing.
yeah, is that I don't think we can all test how these urges go. And I mean, it's not that I'm against it. Please don't think that.
I think you are. You're like, we should just throw in some children into the ring and let them fight over it. Be like a hobo fight over a Big Mac.
Pay 'em.
Yeah.
Remember that one time we paid hobos to fight in your mom's basement?
Can you imagine if that became like the next reality show?
I would be
Take
there live.
100 pedophiles in a ring, 2 children in the middle, and they decide who leaves.
Or can we talk about the comatose bitch? You know what I mean?
Was that really a message that came on? Let's
Yeah.
talk about the comatose bitch.
Let's talk about the comatose bitch.
That's fantastic.
Fucking people.
Anyway, we are going to break. This is awful.
I am
This is not
legitimately trying
working.
to do stories.
It's impossible,
and
right?
what people want to do is talk about fucking
Oh, well,
comatose patients.
that's amazing. That's funny. That's why I love our listeners. That's
What
fantastic.
the hell is wrong with people?
This break shit is what I'm talking about. Like, we can't even get into anything. I can't get impassioned about anything without like, oh, okay, time to take a break. It's not even the time. I don't mind the time. It's just how it was segmented up, like in such a manner. And then to find out, oh, we weren't on at all. Oh, that's that's fucking brilliant. Now, who knows? We might have to pay the fine for the first half hour that we didn't get on. Which, yes, by the way, listeners, we have to pay a fine if we don't play.
Oh, we're back on there, aren't we?
Not yet.
Oh my god! But we've been doing commercials.
Yeah, I know, but it wasn't recorded. You know.
And?
But so.
Welcome back
Not
to
yet.
fucking Christ.
But yeah, no, we're not gonna go back to the comatose chick because that's just not. I don't know. I got nothing more on the
you
comatose
can only
chick.
fuck a comatose person so many times.
Well, I don't know. Hey, that's a good question. That brings up something though.
Shit.
What's the difference between a comatose person and like a sex doll, aside from their living? But I'm saying, like, if you like to fuck a sex doll, is that meaning that you might also like to fuck someone who's comatose?
Maybe.
I feel weird by indulging the listeners who want this.
Where did the questions take you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Our listeners, there's
What
something else.
What are you doing?
So here's the thing, and I know it's gonna upset you.
Mm-hmm.
It's that time.
It's not really.
It's after 6 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
So I'm turning this thing over.
You mean where I can't reach it? So if Shang happens to call, which, by the way, I don't think that's going to happen.
What all you have to do is reach over 4 feet. When you push this,
Which I literally can't reach it.
push this button, answer the phone, and push that button, and it should be plugged into the right hole. We never know until they call.
Yeah, which I won't be able to reach that either.
Oh,
By
so
the
you
way,
stretch 5
fantastic
feet.
comedian and someone who we'd have like an amazing conversation with.
Can you reach now?
No, you're gonna fuck up the hand over here. Where is it? Is it plugged into the first one? I don't think it is.
You know what? This is just how today's going.
You're right.
Is that
Yeah,
better?
I think that's the right one.
I think you're right, babe.
Do you just hit the phone?
Yeah, when he calls, you click answer.
Oh. I mean, again, I don't think he's going to.
So what about my idea about going and just getting high?
Yeah, well, obviously you can't do that either
No, I can't.
because I don't know. People are falling. People are dying with strep, but yet they're hanging out the next night. People are having issues, yet they're out dancing the next. Who knows what's going on? I'm just saying.
She's gonna hate you for that.
Well, you know,
I know.
look, there's life and there's death, right?
It's a very fine line between them.
There really is.
Apparently, people like to fuck that fine line.
And I would not want to. I wouldn't risk it. That's all I'm saying. If it's that bad,
Exactly.
especially if you can't go to school. But I won't get into that. Well, I'm just saying, like, the teachers are there.
And it's the teacher's fault, is what I'm saying.
I'm not disagreeing, but like they got to be like, that's just bullshit. She's
Exactly.
no one's actually sick. Then it looks bad. You see what I'm saying? Oh, good.
Time for a commercial break.
It almost is, basically. I'm not gonna lie. A good chunk of the rest of the show will probably not be me talking very much. But
It's gonna be you sitting here going, "You fucking piece of shit."
no, I'm just gonna play like a song and then a commercial, then a song, then a commercial.
Have I told you I loved you lately? Are you gonna play a song?
No, not right now. I'm not.
Oh, you poor thing.
I'm gonna do what I do, which is radio. What?
Nothing. You just amused me.
You need to leave.
I am leaving. I do love you though, and I hope you have a good night.
Mm-hmm.
Listeners, please quit fucking comatose patients. I feel like that's not something we should have to tell you guys.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I actually, whatever. So anyway, Tanya, have a good weekend. Have fun. Enjoy your time. What? So, I want to bring up a story, all you listeners, that the police in Italy are investigating whether a pedophile was shot dead by a hitman hired by one of the dads of a teen victim. Giuseppe Matarazzo, a pastor north of Naples, was killed a month after he was released from jail. The 45-year-old had been serving an 11-year sentence for sexually abusing 2 sisters after working as a religious leader in the district of Telenisio. One of his victims committed suicide at the age of 15 in 2008. The year after that, Matarazzo was imprisoned. Her father is now being investigated on suspicions of killing the sex abuser after his body was found with 5 gunshot wounds. 2 other men, a 30-year-old named Nostrum and Massaro, which that's different than the accuser's name, who's 55, are also under investigation. Many in the Italian police force believe that one of, if not multiple, of the fathers hired a hitman to take care of this pastor. And I got to be honest, I'm okay with that. Like, I think there's very few things you can do worse than lead a congregation. You know, you're taking children at a young age. You're giving them some exposure. You're giving them like, oh, this is faith. This is life. This is love. And then you rape them. Yeah, I don't have any sympathy at all. In fact, I think the gunshot, way too nice. Should have been a lot worse. And maybe that's just my opinion on that. But I feel like that would be more than justified if that were the case. And I know you can't be putting the law in your own hands. It's not the right thing to do. But come on. This guy obviously had it coming. It's actually kind of sad that the other inmates that he was in with for 11 years didn't handle the job themselves. It's kind of ridiculous, though. And I guess I'm more annoyed that the police have to go into this situation and look and find out, oh, is this, justified or not? Oh, is he, did he hire a hitman? Or, should we press charges on these fathers? Really? You're really going to press charges on these fathers for doing that? I mean, that can fuck up a child's entire life. And then you actually had one of them commit suicide? Are you really going to press charges? I'm sorry, but, I feel like that was the perfect ending, if you will. Just taking... I'm not saying that if you suspect somebody hurts you, or has hurt you or your child or whatever, if you suspect it and you go out and shoot him or hire a hitman, all right, that's a little dark. But, and maybe not valid, I mean, you want to be 100% sure in these kind of situations. That one, they were 100% sure. I don't see a problem with it. Another thing that is being talked about, and this is not in the same lines, but it does have to do with our society and what we're doing. Our amazing president announced that drug prices are cheaper than they were a year ago. So we can unpack that for a second. We can actually look into the data. And so here's what the data says. And it says, no, not even close. In fact, we have a drop in about 12 to 13% of all medications. And the drop in itself, some of them are significant. Some of them are very, very significant. I won't lie about that. Some of the drops are into the 70 to 80% range. All right, so, okay, we'll kind of bookmark that. We'll keep that in. But the other 76, 77% of the medications that did not drop, they actually raised. And they raised a fair bit. And you might be wondering, well, what's the difference between these two medications or classifications of these medications? The 13% that dropped are medicines that people don't really use. They're, I think one of them that was most noted was basically just another boner pill. And turns out that not only were there some issues with it, but the company itself pretty much got bought out by Viagra. I mean, in the fact that they left them no space on the market to really grow. How many boner pills do you really need? So essentially, this company was asking like around $56 to $60 a pill, which is really high, I think. I don't know. I've never bought a boner pill. Maybe someone could tell me if I'm wrong. I think that's high. But it was like, $56 to $60 for a boner pill. And so now that same boner pill is like $10. That's the big drop. All right? Who cares is essentially my thoughts. I could give a fuck less. I'm pretty sure most of you could give a fuck less either. The other medication, though, that is really noted is insulin. And there's a number of companies providing insulin, and all of them, unequivocally, have went up at least 10% from last year. Some of them are using certain taxes as a reason that there's a price hike. Some of them are even now, I guess, within it being day 4 of 2019. Some are using the market as a reason for a price hike. But if you actually looked, they had planned these price hikes at about the third quarter of 2018. So they knew they were going to do this. There's no, and you could go back and forth and say, well, they did also know that the market was going to drop. Well, did they? Because a lot of people acted like they didn't. So I would definitely question the validity behind that argument. But the reality is here's what they did know about these insulins. They were the most used product on the shelves from companies like Pfizer. They knew that, hey, a lot of people buy this. So let's make a big deal about dropping the price of a boner pill. Or, you know what, maybe we'll even let them have some kind of allergy medicine or something. We'll give them something that they can't, they're going to have a hard time saying, oh, fuck that medicine. So, yeah, we'll throw them an allergy pill. And that allergy pill I'm referring to is actually just an over-the-counter kind of allergy pill. And it went down like 15%. Like, honestly, who gives a shit? It's like tax plus a little bit. But what we're going to do behind the scenes and not tell anyone is our most popular product, thing that moves the most. We're going to jack up at least a minimum of 10%, some going up to 32%. Oh, and here's the real kicker. People need this to live. No problem. And most of the time, you don't even notice the cost because a lot of people are lucky enough to be on insurance. Well, at least a lot of people did. We're coming into a new year where, oddly enough, Kansas is in a good place to be insured. But a lot of other states are not. In fact, due to the toddlerisk assault on our health care, Donald Trump has refused to pay health care companies, and so a lot of them are not going to offer the same coverage as they did before, or offer them at a premium that is much higher than it has been in the past. So these price hikes, while maybe not affecting you right this moment, they will be something that you notice. And it can go from any medicine, by the way. I mean, the EpiPens, that is still a thing, by the way. Don't think like, oh, that's done. No, EpiPens are still priced at a premium, an amazing price for these things, for really what they do. And I mean, and what we need them for. The other one that I thought I took note of that went up, just tragically it went up in price, is it's a medication that you take if you're having an opioid overdose. You can now get them at Walgreens. I honestly don't even remember the name of the medication off the top of my head. As you can tell, I've had one hell of a show, so don't have all my information sitting in front of me. But that was another medication that they just jacked up the price because they know people need it. 45,000 people a year die of opioid-related overdoses. And, yeah, that'd be a nice little thing to have, so, I don't know, you don't die. Insulin would be great so you don't lose a leg and or die. There's a tremendous number of medications that have actually raised in price this year, already at day 4 of 2019. I suggest anyone to look into it, especially if it's something that you take. Be aware that just because our president says, I lowered the prices, he didn't lower the prices. He had nothing to do with it. He's not going to fight Big Pharma. Big Pharma helps him. He would never go against someone that helped him. Anyway, I'm going to take a break, and I will be back. And we are back. I just received a message from somebody saying that the audio is messed up. I apologize if it was too loud. I kind of screwed something up. while messing with something. And I received multiple video chat calls. Well, on my nice little break that I feel like I deserve today, by the way, being that I'm the only one down here. Which is, like, I'm not going to get into it completely about how rough that is. But if any of you have ever done radio, doing it by yourself is really hard, right? So take that and then change the entire format of what you typically do and move everything around in such a manner that you have no idea really what you're doing. Um, I I will say this to our listeners: Monday will not be like this. We will have the 2-minute commercials, so it will not break up our show as much because it is incredibly noticing how much that really just it creates this like horrible break that doesn't need to be there. It's just like forced in, shoehorned in, rather. And we don't do the style of radio of, hey, let's just bullshit for 10 minutes and then, all right, let's go back. You know, that's not what we do. So, anyway, yeah, I apologize to all of our listeners for just how god awful this is turning out to be. But it's no reason to stop discussing what's going on, and especially what's going on in America right now. The things that we can change, the things that we can do. One thing we can't change, and one thing that questions how we handle things, has got to be us progressive voters and people who are on the left, and not the Democrat. I'm telling you, not the Democrat. But those of us who question the corporate Democrats, those of us who want more of a social foothold in our country, less money going into inflating stocks and giving the CEOs a fuck ton of money and power that they do not need. I don't know, and making them pay for their taxes. You know, I know it's a crazy idea that the rich should actually have to pay their fair share. It's insane, I know. But, you know, people who want that, people who are on that side of politics, like myself, really have a lot to question about division. Division in general, meaning this. So, the Democratic Party, ran by Nancy Pelosi, introduced a bill a couple days ago, and the bill did pass yesterday. I mean, I'll get into this bill. This bill seemed incredibly vindictive to me, meaning Nancy Pelosi was furious with Ocasio-Cortez. Had enough of her protesting, saw what she was doing with the Green New Deal, and said, oh, you're going to try to out-manipulate me? No. I have all the money. I control the Democratic Party. And what Nancy Pelosi did, and then again, I'm adding in, I don't know if that's how she felt, but it seems like that is the case. What she did was she introduced this bill called the PAYGO bill. I should say this bill that had something called PAYGO on it. PAYGO is a restriction of sorts that says you're not allowed to pass any laws or bills if it's going to create a debt. Now, on its basis, that doesn't sound horrible. Like, maybe that's the way we should have been for the last 2 years. Maybe that's the way we should have been for the last 15 years, you might think. And to an extent, if you were to take things logically and you were to just deduct in your head why that would be a bad thing, it might be kind of difficult to figure out why it would be. And that's a fair point. That actually sounds, oh, okay, we're being more fiscally responsible. But that's not the case in this situation. And I'll explain why. Because there are certain things that we would have to do to create a better society that's actually just going to cost us money. And money up front, maybe. Or there's certain things that we can't manipulate to work around. We can't, as much as we threaten and we say, hey, we're going to go after these tax cuts, we can't do it. It's about impossible. And I'm not 100% sure that the tax cuts 2.0, which essentially cements the first tax cuts, but also adds more. And it does, the 2.0 actually does help the middle class a little bit more, I'll be honest there. But I'm not 100% sure, as where these are bad tax cuts. It's just, we have too many tax cuts is the problem. And before you get kind of caught up on, no, we don't. We pay too many taxes. Yes, you do. I pay too much taxes. I'm talking about the tax cuts that they always bring up is not for us, okay? It's not for the people making under $250,000 a year. We're not getting shit. Anytime they bring up a tax cut, that's not us. Understand that. They might say, oh, yeah, but you're going to have 30 or 40 more dollars on your paycheck. Maybe you will. And when you adjust that for inflation, it turns into something like $15, $10 more paycheck. Okay. And am I going to say that that's going to hurt you? No, because that doesn't. If that was the case and that was all you're signing into is $15 more a paycheck, no, it's not going to hurt you at all. But understand that with the first tax cuts, in 10 years, you are going to actually have to pay what the deficit is. That you're going to have to pay in what all these rich people haven't been paying all this time. Your taxes are going to jump excrementally. Like, it's going to be in the 20s, from what I understand, 17 to 20% of what we pay now. A lot of us pay 12. So yeah, there's that. And again, we can't really bring that back. Anytime that we have tax cuts, it is a tooth and nail fight to reverse them and to say, no, the rich are going to have to pay their fair share. And part of it comes down to the fact that the Republicans don't want to give in, and neither do the Democrats. Nobody wants to give in. The Democrats don't, because they're bought and paid for by the rich, the elite. That's who, runs most of their campaigns. That's who fuels most of what they do. That Republicans, most of them are the rich, okay? So they're obviously not going to give into that. But what we need is single-payer health care. We need free education. We need wage hikes across the board. We need a Green New Deal. We are in a place where climate change isn't just a theory, it's fucking happening. And, if you question that, I'll get in a conversation, I'll talk about this a little bit later, where I had an issue with somebody and how they addressed transgender in science. And I'll talk about that. It's the same thing, though. There's science, okay? Science is saying climate change. All right? Now, whatever you think about it, we need it. Even if you say, no, fuck, I don't believe in climate change. Well, do you want more manufacturing jobs in America? Would it be better to have those factory jobs here in America? Okay, then yes. Then we need a Green New Deal, because that's one of the cornerstones of it, is to create more jobs and to be a leader in an industry again. And that's what AOC and a lot of people who are sponsoring a Green New Deal are in favor of, is we should be the leaders in climate change innovation. We should be a leader in clean energy. And we could easily do that. There's our jobs. There's our money. All right? But we can't do the Green New Deal. We can't do any of these things because it's going to put us in a debt. And thanks to Nancy Pelosi and most of the Democrats at the House, we're stuck. We can't now. Now we're going to have to appease them to pass any of these bills. And they're not going to let us. They don't want AOC, Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, and and Rashida Tlaib. they don't want any of them to have their say because they speak for the people. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want that. She speaks for the rich. So this bill that I'm talking about arguably shuts down any progressive plan that we had going. So this big wave that we had, like, oh, we're super excited. We won. We're moving somewhere with it. Right? Well, that all just got pretty much shut down. Is there a way around it? Can we power through it? I'm sure we can. We can figure out a way to do it, and we'll if we're allowed to have the president who will win the primaries and who will win, then I'm sure we can make changes. But I think the most important thing to take from this is not the defeatist aspect of, well, now we're dead. Now we can't get single-payer health care. Now we can't get a Green New Deal. No, the thing to understand is don't trust the Democrats. Yeah, we're in their party, but they're looking to fuck us over just as bad as the corporate Republicans. And I think that's the most important take from that. They're all dirty. They all want to be controlled by money. And we can't allow that anymore. We can't vote with them because they're Democrats. Because it's really like voting for a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's the same thing. Might as well at least have the wolf, because we know who we're fighting with when we're against the wolf. We know what the wolf does. We don't know about this fucking sheep who, has fangs. We're not exactly sure. And if nothing else, we can rebuild this way. We can say, no, we're not voting on your side, Democrats, until you change, until you go for what the people want. And this is what the people want. The people, 72% want a single-payer health care. They want better insurance. They want better coverage, not just for themselves, but for their children, for our society. We want better. We want free education. We need free education. You can't, in 10 years, if you don't have a college education, you're not going to get a good job. That's just the reality of it. I'm sorry. And I include trade schools in that, by the way, which we need to sponsor those more, too, so that people who maybe don't have what it takes to be a scientist or just don't give a shit about being a scientist, but they want to be a truck driver, they want to be a chef, any of those things, that should be included. They should be able to do that without losing all of their savings, giving up, resources that they could have for their family. All of these things should be available. We are the greatest country on the planet, some say, some seem to think. So why don't we offer that? Why don't we do what's best for our people? But we have so many people who just lie down in front of the rich and say, oh, no, I want to give everything to them. We worship the rich like they are fucking God. That's what we do in this country. A majority of us. Well, you know what? That's not even fair. Not a majority, but the half of us that is holding the other half down. And even them, they don't realize, because some of those people who say, we should have more tax cuts. The rich, the trickle-down effect, it works, blah, 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 blah. They still say, hey, we should have single-payer health care. I want insurance, too. And, yeah, you know what? It really is hard to get into college now. Back when in my day, back in the 60s, 70s, you could have a part-time job and go to college and pay for it. That ended a long time ago. That's not the way it is now. And I think some of them are realizing that because they have children and grandchildren who are going through the same struggles. And they're starting to open their eyes to the fact that we do need a level playing field. Doesn't matter what color spoon you're born with in your mouth. Doesn't matter what color skin you have. We all need a level playing field. It's not even about that. is class warfare. That's what we're against. It's the rich versus everyone else. And making, their big tactic is to make you think you're going to be rich. I don't want to kill your dreams. I don't want to hurt who you are. But big surprise, none of us are going to be rich. Okay? And those of us who are, we want to be fucking King Ralph. You didn't think I'd use a King Ralph example, huh? No, I mean, we want to be a person of the people. You don't want to be old money in what it does. But so, in conclusion with that, it's just that's what we got to be careful as progressives, as people on that side, or just as somebody who believes in some of this stuff, who wants manufacturing jobs back, who does think we need health insurance. Understand that because you vote Democrat, you have 70-80% chance that you're voting basically for the other side against it. Look into who you're voting for. People like James Thompson, they're the answer. People like Brent Welder in Kansas City, that's the answer. I don't know about Laura Kelly. We'll find out about her. And we are paying a lot of attention to her. People like Ocasio-Cortez, who everyone seems to have a problem with. And doesn't that make you think, holy shit, she's onto something? The left, or the right really hate her. The alt-right despise her. Fox News just hates the living shit out of her. But holy shit, you know what? The left hate her too. Does that make you think she's onto something? Because she's speaking for the people. That's the people we got to vote for. We can't just vote blindly. Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. Look at the issues. Look at what they stand for. Because as we found out with this blue wave and this new pay-go bill, it's the rich that controls us all. Anyway, I will be back. And welcome back to Revolution Radio with your host, Jay. Everyone else is gone. They all had important things to do. And I'm just sitting here in the studio by myself, waiting for someone to come back. Anyway, I kind of was talking before break about a conversation, a debate that I had been in. And what it was, and it's not even something I'm that passionate about, if I'm going to be honest. We were talking about transgender, and it's the terms in which we address a transgender man or woman. Oh, it's a transgender woman. Now you got to call her she. And again, I don't understand why anyone really cares. I got to be honest. But people like us, Jordan Peterson and Charlie Kirk and a lot of these people, Hannity, they all make a living off this. And so I got in debate with one of these people, and I understood some things about this person. I looked into them, but prior to doing the show that I had a debate with them on, and they were talking about, that it's against biology, and just because you feel like you are something, you are man or woman, doesn't mean that's what you are. And so the general public is not obligated to call a transgender female she or her. That was the big debate. Now, again, I was kind of pulled into this argument because I really don't care. I feel it as religion. And so this person did have a mentally disabled child, and they were incredibly religious, right? So we'll just, keep those to the back, right? So they started off and just kept drilling the fact that scientifically we are biologically binary. And we are. I will agree. Yeah, okay. Yeah, man, woman. Yeah, man, whatever. There are some abnormalities. There is such a thing as a she-male. That exists. Like, no joke. It has happened before. It's a really, really uncommon thing. And it's more of a mutation than it is a gender, so I get it. I'll go with the whole binary thing. And I'm just letting him speak and say, scientifically, and this is his words, scientifically, there is no evidence that there is a male brain or female brain, meaning that if you're a man, there's no scientific evidence that you grew up and you had a female brain in you the entire time. That you are a woman in a man's body. No scientific evidence. Okay, fair point. Whatever. Like, you're right. You're right. And biologically, yeah, you did start off as a man. You still have the same stuff as a man. That's who you are. And again, I don't care, me personally. But so this person started going into. He also hates the fact that body dysmorphia. You can't say body dysmorphia anymore because that is an offensive term to the transgender community. And that is a scientific word. So why can't we say that? That's bullshit. Science, 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 correct? So I turned the tables on him when it was my turn to speak, and I said, look, I'll agree with you on the biology thing, all right? There is no scientific proof that there is a female brain or male brain. We only know arguably 8% of the human brain. So, is it up for debate? Of course it is. Do we even have an idea about how most of it works? No, we really don't. The top neuroscientists in the world don't understand over 50% of what our brain's doing or what it's capable of doing and why it acts the way it does. Okay? So, but you're right. There is no scientific proof. And I said, but you're a religious man, aren't you? And he replied, yeah. And I said, so if we want to live by science, then you really should denounce your religion. Because there's no scientific proof that there is a God. There is no scientific proof, and in fact, quite the opposite, that the world is only 2,000 or 5,000 years old, however long they say it is. They don't get in the millions, I'll say that. And he said, yeah, but that is a question of faith. And so I retorted with, and so is theirs. It is, and they have at least a 50% chance of a good argument of saying, look, we don't know all this about the brain. Maybe I did have a female brain when I was born. Maybe I had a male brain, whatever. They actually have more signs on their side than you do fighting for your religion. But you know why I don't go after the religious people? Because if having religion, if having God gives you some sort of comfort, if that helps you through your shitty day, then why the fuck would I want to take that away from you? To prove I'm right? Who cares if I'm right? Only I do. And I said to this gentleman, I said, it's exactly what you're doing. Who gives a shit if you're right? But you want to take away their identity. For what? For some grandstanding? Look, I could do that to your religion, but I'm not going to. And society could do that to your religion, but it doesn't. Because there's a certain thing of just not being a dick. And a lot of these people don't get that. And a lot of them are just grandstanding. I mean, I really don't think Jordan Peterson cares. But I do know that he loves the attention. And I know he loves the paychecks he's getting. So I moved on to body dysmorphia, gender dysmorphia, if you will. And I said, you don't want people saying, you think people should be allowed to say that because it's a scientific term, correct? And he replied, yeah, it's a scientific term. We should all use scientific terms. And I said, okay. And you know what? I kind of agree with you. And I said, but there's other scientific terms that we don't use anymore, right? Because they hurt people's feelings. And he replied, I don't think so. No, I don't believe there's any scientific terms. Gender dysmorphia has been the only one that we've taken off the table. And I could tell he was going with racial slurs. That's what he was thinking of. Because there's one obvious one. And I really thought he would have me beat there and have some genius reply. And I said, well, how come we don't say retarded anymore? And I knew, by the way, that it was going to hit home hard for him, having a child with mental disabilities. And I knew that I was going to take shit for it. And the reason I did, though, was so that he understands how that hurts is the same as he's doing. And he's grandstanding about what terminology we should use to call other people that he has no real interactions with. They're not a part of his family. They're not a part of his day-to-day. And if they were, he would be more sensitive to them. And here, I want to be honest, too. I don't have any transgender people in my life. I don't. But I understand. I also don't have any mental disabled people in my life. But I understand. It's this thing. It's this crazy thing called empathy that we really need a lot more of in our society. We're losing it tremendously. It's a disgusting side of our society that we allow this to happen over and over. Well, it doesn't affect me. Oh, now it does affect me. Now I care. I've seen it a million times. Rather it be children being shot at schools. The healthcare issue is one of the biggest ones. The reason why you see so many people on the side of more healthcare is because they've had life-threatening issues. And I mean, I know 4 Republicans off the top of my head that without Obamacare, they would have lost a limb or lost their life. And now they're like, oh, well, yeah, we need universal health care. You know, but, you know, when it's the guy dying down the street who's losing a limb, oh, I don't care. It doesn't affect me. I don't want to pay taxes for it. That's the way that they, and a lot of people, honestly, internalize things. Is, well, why should I have to take a hit to help other people? It's called empathy. It used to be something that we were proud of to have. It used to be a mark of not being a sociopath. Now, I don't want to give another dollar out of my paycheck to help society. I don't want to help my neighbor have an incredibly important operation. No, he should just die. And ultimately, I am going a little bit above how I believe people think, because I don't think that's how people rationalize. I really don't. I think if they see it, then they would say, oh yeah, I want to help. I definitely want to help. But out of sight, out of mind. And you don't think about the fact that that's happening. That we need things like healthcare, or we shouldn't say horrific things to each other and shouldn't use horrific terms, because it's going to hurt someone's feelings. And for what reason? Why is it so important for you to be able to say these terms? Or do you even use it that often? You know, I really wanted to ask this guy in this conversation, do you hang out at a lot of transgender bars or something? Because in my day-to-day life, I 100% almost never run into a transgender. Like, I really couldn't tell you the last time I ran into a transgender person. It's not been a huge problem in my life to determine whether I have to say he or she. That just hasn't affected me. And if I'm also being honest here, working in retail, working with the public, doing this shit on the radio where I got to talk to people, going to different venues where we interview and we talk to people, I just call people by their name. I don't get caught up. If I'm referring to someone, I just refer to them by their name. Now, I understand that some of these people think that they're so important that we're going to care how, let's say, Jordan Peterson discussed any part of Caitlyn Jenner. But we don't give a shit. It's not until he grandstands and says, no, I refuse to call her a her. It's a man. That's the only time that we care, because we want to hear what this train wreck of a human being has to say. And when you're listening to something like Joe Rogan, and for the 20th fucking time, they've had a 3-hour-long show about that same fucking topic, you start to go, oh, this is bullshit. They're just doing it to get paid. I'm tired of it. Who cares? You have Jordan Peterson, who is a professor, who has a lot of information, probably some really interesting stuff. And you have Joe Rogan, who also, I'm sure, has a lot of interesting information. And they can go on about a whole fuck ton of other things, but they're going to talk about social justice warriors and what pronoun we should be calling transgenders. I'm sorry, I don't have the fucking time for that shit anymore. If that's all you have to offer me, then go away. Be original. Yes, I know that's your fucking inner Sandman. Is what should we call transgenders? All right, that's your greatest hit. I don't care. I'm listening because I want to hear something different. I want to hear something relevant about today. I mean, you're so enlightened about everything. Shouldn't you know the goings on in our society, in current events? Shouldn't you know about those things? Or are we just going to go back to the fucking transgender shit? Honestly, I really think that any reasonable human being really shouldn't give a shit what you call somebody. Is it be he or she? The only person who should really care is the transgender person. So you let them decide. Oh, so your new name is Madeline now. Okay. All right. So you're a she. Fantastic. Done. Because it doesn't really affect you. Stop acting like it affects you. It doesn't. Anyway, guys, that's it for our show. My show. We'll be back Monday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And we're going to have this figured out. This whole thing will not be so topsy-turvy. Anyway, check us out, Revolution Radio, on Facebook and Revolution Radio YouTube channel. Just look up Revolution Radio channel. You'll find us. And I'm Jay Dillon, JAYDYLAN on Facebook. If you want to contact me, let us know about any stories, anything like that, hit up the Facebook page, Revolution Radio, or my own personal page, Jay Dillon. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Have a great weekend. We love you.